A Place in the Sun, or The Place in the Sun. It's Rhyme and Reason 506.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life. There's a rhyme and reason why.
Hey there, Tony here, coming at you on movie night. Well, it could be movie night where you are, where you live, and at the time you're listening to this, for all I know, because people listen to this from different parts of the world, as a matter of fact, in France and in Germany, and I think over in Thailand and Singapore and places like that. There are people listening in those areas. It was pretty cool to find that kind of stuff out. But anyway, so it might be movie night. But the reason I'm saying that is kind of a segue into what I'm talking about. Elgeline and I sure enjoy watching old black and white movies because so many of them are very entertaining and without all that vulgarity and profanity that you find in most movies nowadays. And because a lot of them, also because a lot of them have either happy endings or good moral endings. And it's kind of what I'm talking about with this movie, A Place in the Sun. If you've never heard of that, it's from 1951. It stars Elizabeth Taylor and Montgomery Clift. Now, in real life, neither one of them were exactly shining examples of morality, but some of the scenes and dialogue in this movie actually landed on the right side of moral issues. We were surprised when we watched it. Neither one of us had seen the movie all the way through. We'd seen it in parts, I guess, throughout the years, but never all the way through. So we watched it one night. And if you've never seen it, this is going to be a slight spoiler. So, if you'd rather watch it first and then come back and listen to this, I could understand that. Or I'll just go ahead and, you make the decision. Montgomery Clift in this movie plays a young man who he gets a position in his uncle's manufacturing business. And he's patient, and he does this hard labor job. It's not hard labor, but it's a busy, laborious job that he takes on to start with. And he works his way up. And while he's in that labor part of it, he's attracted to one of the worker girls there. She's played by Shelley Winters. And she's sort of pretty in a plain Jane way, but when Montgomery Clift's character is invited to his uncle's house for a society party, he sees Elizabeth Taylor's character, and, va-va-voom, he's immediately smitten with her socialite beauty. I mean, daylight and dark as far as, the beauty scale goes. Now, problem comes up, and I'll put air quotes around problem, when Montgomery and Elizabeth actually get together. They finally meet. There's kind of hiccups to meeting and all that because, she's high society and he has, he's just sort of connected because of his uncle. But they actually fall in love, and she really, you could tell in the movie, her character actually falls in love with his character. The problem is Shelley Winters' character, is already pregnant, yes, by Montgomery Clift's character. And of course, that young man no longer wants the plain Jane when he can actually have the socialite. Yeah, you see the plot thickening, right? So his character takes this plain Jane girlfriend to see a doctor at night. That's when everybody goes to the doctor, right? No, that's when people are trying to cover up problems or get rid of problems. And that's the case here. The pregnant girl tries to talk the doctor into helping, we'll put quotes around that, helping her out of her circumstances. And that's when one of the hints of wisdom sneaks in, one of those things I was talking about there. Because the doctor tells her there's no way he could, quote, help her other than to make sure she had options like adoption. And you can tell she's very disappointed because she's already getting that feeling that her boyfriend isn't necessarily trying to stay with her. He's not sticking by her side other than taking her to this doctor at night, and you know how that goes. Well, hopefully you don't know how that goes. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So Plain Jane can tell that, her boyfriend's no longer interested, especially after she tells him what the doctor says. and she starts to pressure him to do the right thing, by golly. But the boyfriend can only think of his new true love, this beautiful socialite girl. And things start to get extremely serious and tense to the point where this young man decides to take the pregnant girl out on a lake until after dark, knowing, she's already told him this, he knows she can't swim, and he actually contemplates drowning her. Whoa. Now, that's anything but sunny, right? So, name of the movie, Place in the Sun. This isn't a sunny disposition here. But he really just thinks it. He's thinking about it, but he kind of discovers he can't go through with it. But as he's deciding to take her back to the shore, she's getting all worked up because she can see how he's, she can see by the looks on his face, you're wanting to get out of this. And she can just tell that he doesn't care about her anymore. So one thing leads to another, and they both end up in the lake when she gets up and comes toward him and, you need to make this, and he's telling her to sit down. Anyway, they both fall in the lake, and this is with, we'll say, fall clothes on, so they had coats, and, they were dressed for cooler weather, and he sneaks back to the car and tries to cover it all up. So, of course, that implies she didn't make it, right? No, she didn't. She drowned. But the truth, and he does hide it for a while. He does. And he even manages to kind of go on with his life a little, but you can tell he's troubled. But then the truth, like I said, catches up with him. And he's eventually hauled into court, and he stands trial, and he's found guilty, and he's sentenced to death by electric chair. Now, you can tell that's not modern day stuff, because it would take, years, with appeals and everything to even come to a conclusion or a sentence. But, it happened pretty fast, and it's a movie. I get it. One of the final scenes in the movie was another couple of hints of wisdom. The young man's mother, who was a religious woman, comes to visit her son on one of his last nights in prison. He's on death row, and he's facing the chair. And she brings a minister with her, and, she asks her son tells him that he needs to get right with God. And the young man's still confused as to whether he's actually guilty of murder or just a slight victim of circumstances. And he shares that. He tells the minister that's what's on his mind. He's troubled. I don't know if I'm really guilty of this. And the minister just calmly asked him, well, when you were with that girl on the lake and you both fell into the water, who did you think of? Who was on your mind? Was it the girl in the water, or was it the other girl? And they show Montgomery Clift's face, and you can just see the realization of the truth comes across his face. The minister sees that, and the minister says, your heart was murder. Oh, and then he's really, it really comes across his face. And then he realized that his fate was deserved. He knew that he deserved what he was about to get. Nowadays, Hollywood movies are almost all completely confused over right and wrong. And movie makers just love to obfuscate and stay in the so-called gray areas. You can't tell the good guys from the bad guys because they want to do what's right in their own minds, and they want everybody else to do that too. So, you got to blur the lines and not have people actually figure out what is right and what is wrong. And what's right is not a place in the sun. It's an unearned place in the sun. You can see what I'm talking about with the wordplay there over at tonyfunderburk.com/A Place in the Sun. While you're there, be sure to click on the tab where you can find the t-shirt that says, and you can get one for yourself, that says, life has rhyme and reason because God made you.
There's a